Hi, guys.
Coach, how are things wrapping up here this week?
Good. I was pleased with today. Thought the energy was really good. Sometimes you get this late in the spring, right before the spring game, and they start getting ahead of themselves and start kind of in their mind thinking about the blue and white game, and this practice gets away from them. But I didn't think we did that. I thought the coaches did a great job of emphasizing on defense, about the ball. Defense created a bunch of turnovers today, which was really good. Offensively, it just goes to show you can do great things in a game or in practice, but if you turn the ball over, you're going to have a hard time being successful. So great to see defensively. We've done a great job protecting the ball all spring on offense, but today defense got the better hand from that standpoint. If you watch the tape and you grade the tape, they're actually probably offensively going to grade out well, but turnovers will kill you.
James, as spring is winding down, how much closer are you to figuring out your starting QB than you were maybe a few weeks ago?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I doubt it will happen. I doubt we'll name. We want to give Tommy every opportunity to fight for the job. Trace being the backup quarterback for a full year is different, and Tommy's done some really good things this spring. So we'll most likely we'll go back and evaluate everything after spring ball's over, but we'll most likely take that competition into the summer as well as a number of positions.
How would you like that to go down? Like, in your ideal situation, do you want it to go a little longer and make each of them up their game, or do you want one to be the clear answer?
I think you'd prefer to be in a situation where you got a returning starter, and then it's clean cut and no issues. If not, to me, you want to keep the competition going as long as you possibly can, unless the gap is significant, unless the gap is so significant that it makes sense. Right now, Tommy's got a really good feel for finding open receivers and throwing for a high percentage. He's not always technically doing exactly what he's supposed to do, but he's almost like a point guard. He's just got a feel for finding open receivers and being accurate. But he may be reading the wrong side of the field, But if you watch a tape and you don't know what the quarterback's progression is supposed to be, he's productive is what he is, and he's a playmaker. But Trace is the same way. He's just a little bit more consistent with his responsibilities and his execution right now.
How have Tommy and Trace been, handling that competition? Has it worn on them at all, maybe that uncertainty?
I don't think so. I think, when you're a quarterback in this situation, you kind of expect that. You kind of expect that, you're not going to know at this point. I know things are different with the media and with the fans and even with the players to a point with the quarterback position, but there's 20 guys out here going through a similar situation, fighting for a job. But I've been pleased with them. They're very good friends. We got really good chemistry in the quarterback room. We have, the 3 years that we've been here. So that helps. Those guys respect each other and they like each other. So I think that's been a positive.
How are the position battles going with the offensive line, specifically with the guards? What do you like from those guys, and what do you want to see from them between now?
Well, I think right now, you have Bates, who's really doing some nice things. You have Dowry, who really maybe one of the more improved guys that we have right now. He's always been, as you guys know, a big, strong, tough guy, but that's how he's played, and he hasn't always played with the best fundamentals and technique, and he's really taking coaching right now and doing a nice job. Maybe he's improved as much as anybody on the offensive line. Man has missed more reps than I would have liked him to have. He's had had a little bit of an injury and missed some practices. And the other guy, as a freshman, redshirt freshman, Gonzalez is doing a nice thing, and they're doing a nice job for us. So I'd like for it to be a 4-man competition, but right now with Man being out, it's probably been a 3-man competition.
James, you've known Trace a really long time, in a prior institution and all of that. So what kind of qualities have you seen from him as he's kind of grown up around you, grown into a young man as opposed to a high school kid?
The thing that probably is different than I thought is he doesn't say a whole lot. I think he does when he's around the guys, but around coaches, he's kind of a yes sir, no sir type of guy. And I thought he would kind of break out of that shell, but he hasn't, and he doesn't. I mean, talking to his parents, that's really just kind of who he is. But all the other traits are, exactly like we've talked about in the past. He's a winner. Obviously, he's a playmaker in terms of being able to make plays with his feet, with his mind, and his arm. And the other thing I would say is you don't go to 4 state championships. I don't care what state it is. I don't care what level it is. You don't go to 4 championship games without having some other things about you, some moxie, some leadership. We have noticed since the time he arrived, players gravitate to him. So he's got all those other intangibles that you want at the quarterback position. And I think, to be honest, I think he throws the ball a lot better than probably people give him credit for. He's got a very, very strong arm. He's got a quick release. He can throw for velocity, and he can throw for accuracy. The area that I thought he had to come in the spring ball and work on was his deep ball, and he's worked on that. So, I think he's got a lot of the intangibles and a lot of the traits that you're looking for. The thing that he doesn't have is he's not 6'3". That's the one thing I would say he's lacking, obviously.
James, we haven't talked to you since the NCAA banned satellite camps. Obviously, you're the guy who kind of helped popularize that idea a little bit. Just kind of curious what your reaction was, to the ruling, and what that kind of means for you guys going forward.
From the beginning, if the rule was going to be legal in the Big Ten, I felt like, and I said this to you guys before, I felt like we need to do everything in our power within the rules to give Penn State the best chance to be successful. And if we can, as you guys know, we're a little isolated here. It's not the easiest place to get into or get out of. So if we have the opportunity to go somewhere else and interact and connect with certain kids and certain families and certain schools, we'd like to do that. So we did it. The rule now is not legal. So now everybody's back on a level playing field. So, I'm okay either way. I think you can make arguments in both directions for it, but I'm okay with it. I like the fact that we're going to be back on campus. It allows me to spend more time with our players. It allows our coaches to spend more time with our players here on campus, reinforcing academics, spending time with them, building relationships. It also allows us to spend more time with our families. So I love those aspects of it, but basically we're going to do whatever the Big Ten and NCAA allow us to do within the rules.
Do you think it was a success for you guys for the 2 years you did it? Because, you did get some kids, and you had said it was kind of about spreading the brand with places where, typically they don't talk about them.
I think so. You look, we got 2 kids out of Georgia that came to our camp. So I think how significant the impact is, I don't know. But I sure am glad we got that kicker and punter coming in. I'll tell you that. So I think there's an impact to it. I think there was some positives. I think over time it would have grew. We had a different philosophy this year going into it than we had the previous year. And I think you look at that, people are changing locations and going attacking different areas.
Williams, how's Mike Gesicki handled himself this spring? Did you notice anything different maybe in terms of his attitude or his approach?
Good. He's just matured. Looking back at it, you would have liked to redshirt him. Knowing everything we know now. You're talking about a guy who you're going to ask to play tight end, and he had never blocked anybody in his life. So looking back at it, you'd like to do that, but he's all business right now. He knew coming in the spring he needed to become more physical as a blocker, and he's worked really hard on it. He's worked hard on it on his own. He's worked hard on it with us, the things that we're asking him to do. He's got a very business-like mentality this spring, and I think we all know. And you guys maybe haven't seen it yet, but the team all knows he has a lot of ability in the passing game. But I think the lack of success he had as a blocker last year, that spilled into other areas of his game. And I think him embracing being a complete tight end, you're going to see he has the ability to make big plays in the passing game, which I think everybody's been kind of waiting for since he arrived.
Can you walk us through the logistics of the blue-white game, the way you'll time it, the way you'll score it, and the way you'll break down the rosters?
It'll be similar to how we've done it in the past. We'll have basically a 1s and 2s versus a version of 2s and 3s. We have a number of guys that are out right now, either have been out all spring because of injuries or things like that. So we're down numbers. We're pretty thin at a few spots. So we may have to go back to year one where we may have some guys running from one sideline to the other. We'll probably go more of a running clock this year. And then we'll also probably do an automatic timeout in each quarter to give everybody a blow, to make sure that we're able to get those things done. So it'll be similar to the way it's been done in the past. We won't do any of the kicking stuff before the scrimmage this time, but for the most part, it'll be very similar to what it's past. We're going to break the staffs up. We'll break the team up. but it'll basically be like it was last year.
When you look across football, the role of a quarterback is obviously pretty much the same, but if you compare the kind of quarterback that Tom Brady is versus what Cam Newton has to do in an offense, there's kind of a sizable gap in what those responsibilities are. How big of a gap is there between what you had Hack do last year and what these guys have to do in this offense?
I think it's significant. It's a different offense. I think, obviously as we've all discussed ad nauseum, when you're running a pro style kind of offense, and you got a quarterback, a pro style quarterback that's going to stand in the pocket and deliver the ball, that puts a major emphasis on the offensive line, and you're not going to ask the quarterback to do some of those other things, whether it's zone read or whether it's the run pass options and things like that. So it's a different philosophy. And what we want to do is we want to recruit guys like Trace and Tommy in terms of, you think those guys can run a drop back offense, those guys can do some of the run pass option stuff and some of the mobility things. It just creates more flexibility for you. It allows Joe to play to those strengths, and I know it's a headache. I stand back there on the defensive side of the field with our defense, and it's a headache. You stop the run, you stop the pass, and then the quarterback takes off. You over pursue, and the quarterback has the ball. Now you attack the quarterback, and he dumps it over the top of your head. So it's frustrating, and it's not that those other types of offenses can't be successful. But where we are offensively with the development of our offensive line, I think this made the most sense for us, and with the two quarterbacks that we got returning.